Pierce, I think we'll talk
Yes.
about that one, because how can we not have a discussion about Joan Crawford films and not talk about Mildred Pierce?
Absolutely.
So I kind of set up a little summary of Humoresque. How would you describe Mildred Pierce?
I would describe Mildred Pierce as a family melodrama with, I mean, obviously it's in some ways off the charts in the melodrama category. Um, and it's just it's Joan's voyage from being a young mother, married, her marriage falls apart. She has two small children. No, not Vita's not young. I shouldn't say that. She has two children at home. So she's thrust into being a single mom. And it's such a parallel with her life because for most of her adult life, with her four children, she was a single mom
Exactly.
outside of the times that she was married to Philip Terry and Al Steele. So the strange parallels are there to her later life. But it's this fantastic ensemble cast of just some, and we'll go into some of my favorite co-stars in the film later, but it goes from a family melodrama from this cute little Spanish bungalow in Glendale to a mansion. And it's just a crazy ride. And of course, she won her Oscar, one and only Oscar, nominated
Yes,
several
please,
times.
we must say that, yes.
Absolutely. And for many Joan fans, outside of the whole Mommy Dearest thing, having this film shown all over the place. TCM is the newer, but way back when I was a kid on the $1 Million Movie, this was always the film that TV stations would show because it was Joan Crawford, Oscar winner, and just a fantastic movie. Anytime this film is on, I have probably seen it. I'm not joking, 100 times.
Mhm.
I will sit down and watch it. I will tape it. My God, I'm showing my age. I will record it every time it's on TCM because I can just turn it on and it's like a familiar friend. I love the story, and the ending is just fantastic. And it hits so many genres of film. You just can't beat it.
I took the only job I could get so you and your sister could eat and have a place to sleep and some clothes on your backs.
Aren't the pies bad enough? Did you have to degrade us?
Vita, don't talk like that.
I'm really not surprised. You've never spoken of your people, who you came from, so perhaps it's natural. Maybe that's why Father...
Oh, I'm sorry I did that. I'd have rather cut off my hand.
I feel that way about it too, in the sense that it has a bit of a special place for me because it was the film that made me a fan, essentially.
Very nice. Okay.
I had seen one other film before that, which I think we're going to talk about later. And I was intrigued, I was entertained, but something about Mildred Pierce, and I think it was because Joan was almost in her complete Joan Crawford glory, if you will. Had the look already. She had everything that made her this great star. And as soon as I seen her eyes, her expressions, it was really all you needed to feel what she was feeling. And so for me, that is what makes Mildred Pierce special. And of course, the Oscar, which she won for, and was probably should have won for several other movies too.
Oh, sure, of course.
She got it from Mildred Pierce.
She did.
Well
Absolutely.
deserved. And what I find about that too is because, you know, it's not as a showy role for her as some of the other ones she was nominated for. Like The Second Possessed, where she played a mentally disturbed woman, or Sudden Fear, where she's having to go between this murder plot. So we've seen her being a little more reserved, but I felt that she played it without a lot of the Joan Crawford mannerisms that we love. But it was almost very straight. She just really became Mildred Pierce, this other character, which may be why she was really rewarded for that one.
Right.
Yeah,
she definitely plays it very almost stripped down from her early shop girl days, her her flapper days. It's more of a very heartfelt film, especially at the beginning third, where she's trying to find her way and support her family. Absolutely.
I want you to have nice things, and you will have. Wait and see. I'll get you everything, anything you want. I promise.
How?
I don't know. But I will. I promise.
There's this opposing daughter who is at once vengeful as she grows in the film. And that is also an interesting plot point. But I would say there are so many in here, so it's going to be hard. But what is your favorite scene? Do you have a favorite scene in Mildred?
Okay, there are too many scenes. However, and I can only whittle it down to two, so I'll give you two. The opening scene where she is on the pier in her fur coat, fur hat. I've got a studio still, in my collection that I love. She's contemplating suicide because of just how horribly wrong things have gone with her life, her family. And then she grabs the railing, and then the policeman hits the railing with his billy club, and she comes back to, not to reality, I guess, but just to awareness. And just seeing her, because obviously I've seen the movie so many times, I know the rest of the story. So I'm like, oh, I see why you're in such dire straits. So that is what my first. Second one, I just love when Joan is in the kitchen baking pies. She's doing all the pies and cakes for the neighborhood, and Vida comes home, and it just shows her in such an approachable manner. And again, this is the day that her husband's about to leave her for Mrs. Biederhoff of all people. And it's just, she's already providing for her family because her husband won't get a job, can't find a job, whatever. So she is already taking command and making sure her family has food on the table.
I was always in the kitchen. I felt as though I'd been born in a kitchen and lived there all my life, except for the few hours it took to get married.
Is that you, Bert?
Yeah, who else?
I thought it might be Mrs. Whitley calling for a cake.
Well, it isn't.
I married Bert when I was 17. I never knew any other kind of life, just cooking and washing and having children. 2 girls, Vida and Kay.
Those are some ones I don't think we pick out as much, but I love the insight that you brought to that. And this is not what I chose for my favorite scene, but when you said the kitchen, there's a moment in there when, as you mentioned, her husband comes home, she's baking the pies. He gets the call from Mrs. Biederhoff, the neighbor, essentially a game of gin rummy or something else, we're not sure. Of course,
whatever, yeah.
And when she finally decides this is it, we're going to divorce, and she just says, "Pack up, Bert." And they put this close-up on her, and I don't know, it's just the most beautiful close-up. All she has to say is that, and you're just mesmerized by it.
Bert, you go down to that woman's house again, and you're never coming back here. I mean that.
Oh, I go where I want to go.
Then pack up, Bert.
All right, I will.
One scene that I'm going to pick for my favorite, and there are so many, not a subtle scene at all, but the sort of final, if you will, there's 2 major slap scenes with her.
Oh, of course. Yes, of course. Sure.
But the second one, the one just before she ascends the staircase, there's this confrontation between them.
Right.
And the reason I chose that as my favorite scene is because when Vita's speaking to her, essentially, she's almost saying or mirroring some of Joan's real life experiences. She says something like, and forgive me if I'm misquoting, I've seen it many times too.
Sure.
But she says to Joan's character, just because you get a new hairdo and some expensive clothes, you think you can turn yourself into a lady again. But
absolutely.
You can't, because you'll never be anything more than a common frump. Whose father lived over a grocery store and whose mother took in washing. Now, Joan was raised for a period of time in a laundry agency.
She was, absolutely.
And essentially, she's standing there, really being Lucille Lesueur, her real name, but she's dressed as a movie star. She has a new hairdo. She has expensive clothes, but deep down, she knows that she did come from that place. And you can almost see it in her eyes as Vida dresses her down.
You think just because you made a little money, you can get a new hairdo and some expensive clothes and turn yourself into a lady. But you can't. Because you'll never be anything but a common frump whose father lived over a grocery store and whose mother took in washing.
I mean, Mildred Pierce is, again, a fantastic ensemble production. Eve Arden is probably my favorite co-star, but everybody does a great job. Bruce Bennett as Bert, Zachary Scott as Monty Berrigan, Jack Carson as Wally. I mean, it's just a fantastic collection of actors just putting together just an incredible show. And then there's Anne Blythe playing Vita Pierce. And she does, what was she, 17, 18 years old when they filmed this? She was really young. And she has incredible range.
Get out before I kill you.
I think Anne Blythe doesn't steal the show from Joan. It's definitely Joan's movie. But Anne Blythe just does an incredible piece of work in this film.
I think so too. And you know, I've seen a few interviews with her and she always seems like a very lovely woman, and it just goes to show you the strength of her acting ability, because she becomes this sort of evil character, which it seems so far-fetched from when we see her in her demeanor and her very calm, sweet demeanor off screen. So yes, I was also going to well, you picked Eve Arden, but I was going to say Anne Blythe, just because I just can't get around the pairing of the two of them.
Absolutely.
But when you mentioned Eve Arden, that got me to thinking that she's always a standout. I think, I don't know if it's the voice on top of it, you just automatically it's her.
I like you, too. Don't look now, Junior, but you're standing under a brick wall.
I don't get it.
You will, when it falls on you.
Okay, I don't think we can talk about Mildred Pierce or wrap it up without mentioning something. We're kind of throwing in fun facts with these films. This one I'm going to call fun fact or fiction, because I want to know your opinion on this.
Absolutely, of course.
So Joan won the award, Best Actress, 1946.
Yes.
She famously was not present at the ceremony.
Correct.
And she said that she was ill. And for some reason, I don't think this would happen today, but somehow people don't believe her, or they want to say, you know, she was afraid of losing, or could she have been a combination of ill and afraid? I have some insights into that just from reading friends that knew her around that time. I was wondering what you thought of that. Do you think it's true that she was ill? Was she afraid? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I have the opinion, without any firsthand knowledge, obviously. I think she wasn't afraid of losing per se. I think it was more, she never liked to be before crowds of people on stage. She could never do real work in a play per se. She appeared on the radio lots of times. She did TV later, but that's different. I think it was a mix. I don't think she had the flu. I think she was anxious, and I think she was just, again, I don't think she was afraid of losing per se. I think she was just afraid of being in front of a lot of people. Win or lose, there would be attention focused on her, at least for those couple of minutes during the presentation. And it just makes such a great story that she was home in bed.
It does.
Ready to accept her award. And it's delivered to her, lots of photos. And I just saw a photo the other day where she's then passed out asleep, clutching the Oscar in her bed. And it's so sweet. And it was probably just all the rush adrenaline of what just happened, and she's done. And it was just, you know, so I think it was anxiety and everything else. I'm negating the flu and being sick completely.
Well, I think you make a great point about her fear of crowds, in a sense, or being fixated in a public or live setting.
Right.
That could have contributed to it. Now, Joan did mention that she had taken ill for a few days and had to miss some scenes during Humoresque. Now, during Humoresque is when she received the Oscar for Mildred Pierce. So there could have been something happening there. Now, her friend and hairdresser, longtime friend, Sidney Goileroff,
Oh, yes.
wrote in his memoir that he was with her that evening that she won. And that the studio, Warner's at the time, had sent a studio doctor to examine her, and Joan wasn't too happy about that. To his attesting, she was ill. But again, it could have been, like you said, not so much a flu or anything like that, but just a personal anxiety and wanting to handle it her way. And I think she did that, and it almost made for something bigger and better, because we have those
Absolutely.
wonderful pictures of her, you know, in bed with the Oscar, and
Right.
how wonderfully dramatic that was.